Hey, thanks for tuning into another episode of Let Me Talk. Today is Monday, January 16th. It is Martin Luther King Day. How is everybody? This episode is brought to you by my fantastic sponsor, El Cajon Harley. I'm going to be down there tomorrow, Tuesday, picking up my brand new Milwaukee 8 bad boy, Road King. Cannot wait. Stop by and see me if you're in the area. Southern California's best Harley-Davidson dealer. Go see my boy, Greg Riley. You need a new motorcycle. You need some service done to your bike. You need some motor clothes, a helmet, whatever, man. I got some heated grips on my bike. It's been cold this year, man. Unbelievable. And I got a heated seat now. Old man mode. I am in the old man mode. El Cajon Harley hooking it up. Can't wait to ride with the warm ass out there on the highway. Heated seat, heated grips, whatever you need, man. Go in and see these guys. They'll hook it up. These guys, their service department is fire, man. I just saw a photo of my bike last night, and it looks amazing. Fly in, train in, whatever you got to do. Greg will pick you up. Get yourself a motorcycle and ride it home. Call up El Cajon Harley or check them out on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Also join El Cajon Harley and myself for Bike Night at La Jolla Comedy Store, February 3rd at 9 p.m., 9:30, I think it is. We're going to do a little ride from El Cajon Harley to La Jolla Comedy Store and have a little biker comedy night. El Cajon Harley, there you go.
And the evil of politics. I am constantly reminded of the fact.
All right, yeah, here we are. Martin Luther King Day. That's a little Public Enemy, which, by the way, my guest Joe DeRosa turned me on to today, letting me know that one of my favorite rappers ever, Paris, did a record with my other favorite group, Public Enemy, in 2006, and that's a track from it. I had no idea. Unbelievable. Sometimes something slips by me like that. Like, how did that get by me? Two of my favorites and I don't know about it? That's absurd. I'm actually embarrassed. But Joe DeRosa is my guest today, and he came on, and I love this guy, by the way. I absolutely love this guy. He is a real deal, and he's got a Comedy Central special coming out February 3rd at midnight. Watch that, please. And we get into some great conversation about Metalllica, about hip-hop, and about how to do stand-up outside the box, without the clubs, without, a lot of people always ask me, when you coming here or there or there? And I think, well, when I get booked. But now I look at it in a different way since talking to Joe, and also since Friday night where I did a show over at my buddy Ari Manis's house. He had a house show. He does it once a month. And it opened my eyes to think, you know what? I'll go anywhere. I just realized I'll go anywhere. If you set up a show at your house and you got people from your work or whatever, email me, Dean Del Rey at Yahoo. Figure out some money. I'll fly out and do a show right at your house, man. I think that's the way to do it. Garage Days Revisited style, Metalllica. To show up, do a show in your garage or your living room. Ari Manis set up this cool show, and it's not like the first time it's been done. I've done it before. Comedy Living Room did it for a few years. That was amazing, that show. And it's an amazing idea where you just have like, it's amazing if you got cool neighbors. Let me take that back, because if you got like shitty neighbors and you go, hey neighbors, come over and see this comedian Dean Del Rey, and then they go, holy shit, that guy insulted us. But if you got cool groups of friends, whatever, I'll come to wherever you're at. You know, I can't do it free, of course, but we'll figure it out. We'll figure out the paper, and I'll come out and just start doing shows wherever. It's time to, I can't wait for clubs, and I learned that from Joe DeRosa on this episode. He's a great man. He works hard. He's been doing comedy fucking for 100 years. Started out with Big J and back with Patrice and Kevin Hart. He has amazing stories. And I've been fired up. I don't have a lot of comedians on. I like to have comedians on that I really, really look up to, and guys that do stuff differently. And I learn so much when I have these guys on. So it's great. It's a great episode if you're into comedy and music. It's just a double whammy. And like I said, get that Public Enemy record with Paris called Rebirth of a Nation. Just amazing, this record. Holy shit, I can't even believe it was out. Oh, what else is going on today? It is a holiday. Next week will be Shooter Jennings. I had the schedule mixed up. Let's see. What do we got coming up here? We talked a little Metalllica on vinyl, by the way. I'm still hearing complaints on the Metalllica vinyl. Not the original stuff, of course. That all sounds great, but Joe bought Injustice, said it doesn't sound that good. You got to watch out for that new vinyl, man. I've come to the conclusion, just try to buy vintage vinyl, and then if you're going to buy a new record, go on and Google it and see what the vinyl heads are saying about the sound quality. If it's mastered from the analog tapes, the original tapes, then it's a go. But like this new Pink Floyd stuff, that's all just done off digital stuff, and it's not going to sound good at all. Get original Pink Floyd and just lose your fucking mind, man. It's all over the place. It's on the internet, eBay or any record store. Pink Floyd sold like 7 billion records. Same with Metallica. They're out there. Yeah, they're going to be a little pricey, but you're going to own them your whole fucking life, you know? That's what you got to think about. It's like when I spent money on a mattress, someone's like, what? Man, you spent money on a mattress? That's a lot of money. It's like, dude, half your life you're in bed. Fuck. Anyway, what else is happening? Got a headline in the Hollywood Improv this Saturday. I hope you guys can come out. Like I said before, if everybody bought a ticket that was an LA listener, I'd be selling out for, I figured it out, 3 weeks would be sold out if every listener from LA alone bought a ticket to see me at the Hollywood Improv. It would be sold out for 3 weeks. I'm just trying to do one show. Get a ticket, 8 p.m. next Saturday, the 21st. Some other shows. Yes, I am going to be at the La Jolla Comedy Store February 3rd and 4th. And then Denver, one night only, February 18th at the Sioux Teatro Theater. That's going to be killer. And then just a couple shows just came in. What else is going on? Something else. I can't remember. Out of my mind right now. Hope everybody's doing good. Follow Joe. Watch his special February 3rd. And I love you guys. Leave a review and subscribe to the podcast. That's how we get it in the top 50 on iTunes. And spread the word. Remember, email me, DeanDelRey at Yahoo. Candles lit, Joe DeRosa. All right, here we are, another episode of Let There Be Talk. Great guest today. Introduce yourself, my man.
This is Joe DeRosa. Good to be here, buddy.
How are you?
Good. Good. We've been trying to do this for a while. I'm glad we finally did it.
Yeah, insane, man. I mean, that's how it is. You know what's funny is like I'll want people on the podcast forever, and then it doesn't happen. And then like, boom, all of a sudden 8 people can do it. And perfect timing. Now I've got like 2 months of podcasts. You know what I mean? I hate when you're like, I need a guest. I never wanted to be like that. Because then you're just going to have, like, the neighbor on.
Yeah, I know, man. It sucks. Do you ever do it solo?
I do all the time. I do when I don't have them. I don't mind it at all. I like it.
What do you do when you go solo? What do you talk about?
Well, usually I'll go solo and I'll find something I want to talk about, like a record or, what's happening in my comedy life.
Right.
Something, it's pretty easy to go solo.
Right.
If you just sit down and write down some bullet points of like, this is what I want to talk about today.
Right.
If you just jump on, you'll just run out in like 10 minutes.
Yeah. No, I still do. I do a different podcast now, but my first podcast I ever did was like that, where if I didn't have a guest, I'd go solo.
Yeah, well,
I started having
doing that one, right?
Yeah, I got tired of it. I got tired of it. It was, I felt like too much of my life was opinions and expressing opinions, and the podcast was another part of that. And I'd go on stage and talk about this stuff, and then I'd do it on the podcast. I just got tired of it, and it became burdensome. So I had to start to separate what I did on stage from what I did elsewhere. And I thought, if I'm going to do a podcast and commit to it and probably not make any money doing it, I'm going to do it about something that is just fun to me. So I started doing about horror movies with my friend Pat.
Yeah, you guys stream them and just riff on it, or?
We used to stream them. We don't stream them anymore. Now it's more like a Siskel and Ebert thing, where we do reviews. So it's anything horror, fantasy, sci-fi, mostly horror, but fantasy and sci-fi can come into it too.
Yeah.
And we just have movie-related segments, and then the bulk of it is us discussing some classic or contemporary film, and we, usually argue about it.
Is it new horror films or old?
Both. We'll do classics and new. We try to do some contemporaries. But, we did, what did we do last month? Last month we did Lights Out, which was new. But we also did Silent Night, Deadly Night, which is from the 70s or 80, 81, whatever, because it was Christmas time.
Yeah.
So we mix it up, man.
Exorcist, the greatest horror film ever made, right?
100%, absolutely.
100%. I think it's the only one that ever was up for Academy Awards, too.
I don't know if it's the only one, but it's definitely one of the only ones. Right. And it might be the only one. I'm not sure, to be honest. But, it's my favorite horror movie of all time. It's one of 2 horror movies that are in my top 10 movies of all time. It's a masterpiece.
It's unbelievable. I remember as a kid, me and my buddy, we were maybe, I don't know, I'm 50. I don't know what year it came out, but we paid to go see one movie and snuck into that one.
Jesus, it must have scared the shit out of you.
So scared. We had to walk home after, and we used to walk this back way through the creek and everything. Nope. Didn't walk that way. And then I slept with the light on. My mom kept coming in like, hey, the light's on. I was like, oh, really? Like, man, it fucked me up for a long time.
Yeah, I remember my mom wouldn't let me see it when I was a kid. And then she let me watch the TV edited version.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, that was really scary. And then I guess sometime when I was in high school or college, I finally saw the real version.
Yeah.
And it disturbed me. It stayed with me for quite a while. Yeah. And same thing. I remember Pet Sematary. I saw that when I was, 10 or 11. And that, I had to sleep with the light on for a while.
Sleep with the light on.
It really freaked me out, man.
If you Google like Exorcist film premiere and stuff, you'll see like people were running out of the theaters and shit back then, like so scared, like the New York premiere and stuff.
That's awesome.
Like they just shit their pants. Like, wow. I think it's so scary because when you're young, you think, well, that could happen. That's not a monster. It's like maybe I did some sins and I get possessed.
Right. It's, that was the scary thing to me as a kid because I went to Catholic school and they would tell us that you could, just by watching something like that, you were opening yourself up.
Yeah, to the devil.
To potentially being possessed. So that definitely made it more scary. And I just got, for Christmas, my mom got me So Shout Factory, you know them because they put out tons of music stuff. So they started a division called Scream Factory. So they would do reissues of horror movies, mostly classics, on Blu-ray with like new artwork, and they're really amazing and all these cool special features.
Wow!
But they did just before Christmas. They put out a re-release of The Exorcist 3, which I love. It's a great horror movie, and it has this director's cut by William Peter Blatty, who wrote the original book and wrote the original screenplay, and then wrote and directed The Exorcist 3 as well in the book. And it's got all this footage in it that they thought was lost. They found it, and it looks grainy. You can tell when it cuts to the lost footage, but it's this whole new version of the movie. That
What's 3 about?
3 is the true sequel to the first one.
Because I saw The Heretic in the theater.
It's terrible.
It's terrible.
Yeah, it's terrible.
What a bummer, right?
Yeah. It's a little spacey at times, so it's kind of fun.
It's almost mushrooms. You know?
Yeah.
Like, what is this?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It has a weird flavor of like, let's do an art film.
Yeah. They really went in some other, I don't know what they were doing, but I commend them that they didn't just rehash the first movie, which I thought was cool. Yeah. But it's not a good sequel. But so William Peter Blatty had nothing to do with the second one.
Right.
But then he wrote a book called Legion, which was the sequel book novel to the Exorcist novel. And then he got hired to write and direct The Exorcist 3, which it was originally supposed to be called Legion. They were like, you have to call it Exorcist 3.
Of course.
And then they made him incorporate an exorcism into the ending of the movie. So the big climax finale is this exorcism that they made him add into the movie. He didn't want it in there because it wasn't in the book.
Wow.
So it's still really good. It's solid. George C. Scott's in it. And it's about George C. Scott plays the detective from the first movie.
Right.
That Lee J. Cobb played. And he is now really good friends with the priest that gives the last blessing to Damien Karras at the end of the first movie.
Right.
And it picks up, I guess, 15 years later or something, and it's on the day that Karras died. It's on the anniversary of that, and all of a sudden, all these murders start happening.
Oh, wow.
And all the murders are these exact replica murders of this guy that was called the Gemini Killer that hadn't struck since 15 years ago when the original movie happened.
Oh, wow.
And he's presumed dead. So they don't know what's going on.
Right.
And then, it all comes.
Yeah, wow. I never saw that. I'll have to see
great.
that. That's killer, man.
It's great. It's really great. And both versions are awesome. And they're scary, man. They're really creepy.
When I was a kid, it was Exorcist, and then, of course, it was The Omen.
Yeah.
That fucking scared the shit out of me.
I liked The Omen. It didn't scare me, though. I thought it was too slow for me.
Oh, man. To me, it was just that's what made it scary to me. It was creeper. All that shit, like when they find out his mom's a dog or a jackal, and the shaving of the head with the 666.
Yeah.
And then hanging at the fucking birthday party. I was like, God damn, this is crazy.
Yeah, that part's fucked up. It's all for you, Damien.
Yeah.
And then the guy who gets the fence spike through his throat.
That was great too.
Yeah, that's a good death.
Just some good shit. And then I loved Amityville Horror.
I like Amityville quite a bit.
Yeah.
I just bought the Amityville Part 2 on VHS. So I have a pretty massive horror collection. And I just recently started buying VHS tapes of old horror movies. I had half of these fucking things already, and then, like an idiot, I got rid of all my VHS thinking, it's DVD now. And then realized recently, a lot of this shit looks so much cooler on VHS.
You got a player?
Yeah. I got a player hooked up to my TV. And
I got some VHS. I'll toss you, man. I got some good shit.
Please, dude.
Yeah,
I'll buy it from you if you want.
I'll hook you up, dude. I got some fucking rock shit, dude.
What do you got?
I'll show you later. It's in the garage. Like crazy stuff like, like all these old like MTV stuff and good shit, man.
Yeah, I have a couple. The only music things I still have on VHS, and thankfully I never threw them away. I guess I had the foresight to not do it. But I have 3 tapes that are labeled rap.
Yeah.
And it's 90 to 91, 91, 92, 92, 93. And they're all the videos I taped off of Yom TV Raps in the afternoon.
Sick.
When I would get home from school.
Yeah.
And you can't find them anywhere. I mean, some of them I'm sure are on YouTube, but
yeah.
For some reason I kept those, and I still have those, which was cool. But I had some really great bootleg stuff I don't have anymore. I had some Dead Kennedys bootleg videos
badass.
and Zappa.
Yeah, I got all kinds of shit. I got some Zappa some guy just gave me. You know? Yeah, you know, it's VHS. It's just so funny to think about, like, you know, to even have a player. Where'd you get a player? Like on eBay or something?
It's funny, man. The first one I bought on eBay because it looked really cool.
Yeah.
And it was like $75, but it was this massive silver like JVC player and it had these big illuminated buttons. It looked awesome.
Yeah.
Got it. Fucking ate the tape right away. Didn't work. I know, it sucked. So I emailed the guy and he's like, dude, I'm sorry. I don't know what happened. It was working. And he just gave me the money back. And he's like, keep the VCR if you can sell it.
Yeah.
Great. So I made out on that, which was fine. I ended up bringing it to a shop to get it fixed. And I never went back because I was like, oh, fuck it, man. I don't feel like going back. I didn't pay anything for that thing.
Yeah.
And then I just went to dude, you go to a Goodwill.
Salvation Army, yeah, Goodwill.
Yeah, and I got a nice little compact one. It was like $5 or something.
Wow.
You know, and it works like a charm, and it's got auto tracking on it. And
auto tracking, remember that?
Yeah.
That was like state of the art. Before you'd have to get up and kind of move the thing and get the lines out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, tracking, yeah.
Hilarious.
So
tracking's all off.
Yeah. And it worked. I lucked out because it actually fits way better in my place. I didn't realize the other thing was like look cool, but it was gargantuan. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
you know, there's some early shit that I really loved that I found fascinating. There was this movie, and I talk about it to people sometimes. Like, I remember that because I'm 50. So there was a movie called The Town That Dreads Sundown.
Yeah.
You know that one?
Yeah.
It's just the guy murders everyone at night, and then he's gone.
Yeah.
Fuck, I saw that in the theater.
Did it freak you out?
Yeah, because it was just like, oh my God, is he still out there? Because they made it look like it was a true story. Remember that?
Yeah, and then they did a remake. I haven't seen the remake, but they do that even more in the remake or something.
Yeah.
Where they're in the remake, I think in the remake, it's like the original movie. They treat it in the remake like it's the movie they made about our town, but it was bullshit. This is the real thing.
Right.
Some shit.
Hilarious.
I don't know. But that guy looks real creepy because he's got that hood.
Yeah, he's got the hood, man. It's fucking like that shit. Yeah, it's amazing that you know that film because I always talk to people like, oh, I remember this movie, Town That Dreads Sundown.
Yeah,
you know?
that hood is real freaky, and that's what made Jason freakier in the second. I can't remember if he has it in the first, but I remember in the second Friday the 13th, he has a potato sack instead of the mask.
Right.
And it's just creepier, man.
Yeah,
I think because it makes you think of
Chainsaw is all time creepiest.
Yeah. Chainsaw's rough, and it's. I've watched some film historian interviews where they talk about why that movie's so scary, and the best insight or critique that I heard was that it looks like a documentary.
That's exactly. I mean, we were told as a kid it was real.
Yeah.
You know, it was a real family that they found out in Texas. A lot of like back then Faces of Death. Remember those series?
Yeah.
You know, that was weird. The monkey brains.
Yeah.
Oh my God, all that shit.
Yeah.
I watched some fucked up shit as a kid, you know?
Well, that's, that stuff was, those were like the sort of like the holy grails or whatever in the Indiana Jones sense.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, like they were these lost treasures that you would try to find, and there was all these rumors around them. I remember renting I Spit on Your Grave with my buddy when we were like 12.
Yeah.
And like getting so excited that we got away with renting it, and like we were forbidden to watch it.
Right.
We were forbidden, and we knew there's a scene where she cuts a guy's dick off. Oh. So like, but Faces of Death was one of those.
Oh, yeah.
The Exorcist was one of those.
Yeah.
These were all movies where there was a real mystique around all this shit.
Absolutely. Now, here's something I didn't really know. I had Big J on a couple days ago, but
yeah, he's here, isn't he?
yeah, he's here for like like on and on. He's in San Fran this weekend,
Yeah.
but then he's back again.
Yeah, I'm supposed to see him next week. I forgot he's here.
But he said you guys go way back, man. And then Burr and you way back too, right? Like you and Burr had a podcast in like what, 2005 or something?
Long time ago, Burr and I it started as a radio
On
show.
Sirius Radio?
Yeah, it was on Opie and Anthony's. It was at the time the network was called The Virus.
Right.
And we were on there. They had 4 radio shows, and each show would do one Saturday night per month. And we were one of the 4. I'm trying to remember who the other ones were. I think Patrice had one. I think Bobby Kelly had one. And I don't know, maybe Colin Quinn, or maybe it was Colin and Bobby. I can't remember. But but Burr and I had one, and we were and we would do it was called Uninformed, and we did the show there, and then that ended, and we did it as a podcast for a while, and then we just stopped when Bill moved to the West Coast, and it just got harder and harder. He just kept getting more and more popular. Yeah. And I was starting to do my own thing, because at the time I was his opener. Right. So it was real easy to do. But then once I started headlining and stuff like that and doing my own stuff, it just got really tough to do. To keep up with anymore. So,
how long were you opening for him?
Not crazy long. Yeah. Because he really, I always really give Bill a shitload of credit for this, because I don't think a lot of headliners do this, and I think it was certainly a very instrumental thing for me as a comic. He was very much like pushing you out of the nest. Right. So I would get like offers to do like headlining gigs in like C rooms for really bad money, and I'd call him and I'd say, "Hey dude, like, this offer came in for me to do this horrible room in this horrible place for horrible money. Yeah. And I can make more money with you opening, and it'll be more fun. So I'm just going to do the thing with you." And he would not let me do it. Wow. He'd be like, "No, you have to go do your own gig. You cannot just be the guy that opens for me. You have to go out and you have to start to build your own thing."
Yeah, that's interesting, because Maron would say that, like, guys back in the day, because, as bummed as I get that, oh man, I wish I could do the whole year with Burr or Maron or whatever. But yeah, Maron was talking about like what happens is guys become satellite comics. Yeah. They become the headliner, and then you're known as the openers. Like Kennison had these satellite comics, that were just known as his openers. Yeah. And they never rose above that because they were always his openers. And
Yeah, you gotta be careful with that. Look, I learned and again, it was just luck, but I learned such a great lesson with that very early on, because when Chappelle first came back when he went to Africa when he left the Chappelle show and went to Africa and then came back.
I saw like his first show back at the store in the main room.
Yeah.
Al Madrigal opened. It was the funniest show I've ever seen.
Yeah, that was a great hour that he was touring at that time.
I couldn't believe that.
Well, when he came back and started to tour around a little bit, I toured with him for like 2 weeks. Wow. And for 2 weeks, I was famous by proxy because I was next to Dave Chappelle.
Especially at that time, right?
So,
back.
Yeah, it was wild. It was wild. Like, I'd go out into the lobby after the show and get rushed by people, and like, it was crazy. Yeah. Fucking hugging, I remember walked off stage one night and Mos Def hugged me. Yeah. And I was like, "Who's this guy hugging me?" And I was like, "Jesus Christ, it's Mos Def." Yeah, He's like, "Man, that was so funny." Like, you're like, so you feel really special.
Yeah. It's interesting.
You feel really special.
I just opened from last week, and, it's just this other level, you know? Like, because people love his comedy, and I love it, and it's like opening for Burr. They love comedy, that crowd. So then all of a sudden you're like, oh, yeah, this is the shit. Yeah. And then you're back into the open like me, like 2 days later.
Well, I remember that. We toured for 2 weeks, and I was on top of the world. I came home. I did Caroline's the first show I did was Caroline's on a Tuesday night. There were 7 people there. I bombed horrifically, and in the middle of my set, the heckle I got was a guy going, "You opened for Chappelle?" Wow. Because that's how they brought me on stage.
Wow, yeah.
And I was like, oh, it's over. Like, Dave Chappelle is famous. I am Not that I thought I was famous, but you know what I mean.
Yeah,
That doesn't carry over.
I know that from opening with bands for years.
Right.
You realize, like, look, I went out for 10 months with the Wallflowers, and then I come home, and you're thinking something's going to happen, and I'm playing at the fucking Genghis Cone with fried rice smell blowing through the room.
Exactly.
And just no one in there. And
Exactly.
like, you have to fucking make a mark on your own, or you'll just fucking spin out.
You have to. So I almost allowed myself to slip into that mindset again, or I would have let myself slip into it had Burr let me, but then Burr was like, no. And then I was like, oh, yeah. Oh, shit. Okay, no. I remember. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So, but we go way the fuck back, man. But I go back even farther with Okerson, man. I've known Okerson since the beginning.
Yeah, that's what he said.
So I'm.
You guys are both from what, Philly?
Yeah, we're both from Philly. He grew up in Jersey. I grew up in suburban Pennsylvania. But then we both started in Philly at the same room. He started on the same night as Kevin Hart, which he might have told you when he was here.
Yeah.
And Kurt Metzger started right then too.
Yeah.
And Jay and Kurt and Kevin started about a year and a half, I guess, before I did, or maybe 2 years before I did. And then they were the guys that went to New York. They were like the legends at the Laugh House in Philly because they went to New York. And then especially Kevin, because Kevin had like a fucking sitcom like 2.5 years in. No, before that, he had a show. I think it was called The Big House. I don't think it lasted very long,
right?
But it was on the air. It did go a few episodes.
Wow, I didn't even know that.
He got that like 2-3 years in. It was like an insane. Yeah. We all knew like that guy's going to be so fucking famous.
Really, he was that good at the beginning.
He just had it, man. He just had that thing. That was like the career, like he had that thing that they would always say on Behind the Music where they'd be like, when that guy walked into a room and said hello to you, you felt like you were the only one in the room. Like Kevin Hart has that kind of charisma.
Right.
I remember like I remember when I coming off stage having a great set and feeling good about that. This was when he was becoming famous. He wasn't like famous yet. But like I said, we knew he was on his way. And I remember walking off stage and he was standing there and he goes, hey, you funny as shit, Joe. And like it trumped my set. Him saying that trumped, like it made me feel like a hot chick, like was like,
yeah,
let's get out of here. You know what I mean? Like I was like, this fucking kid is just wafting charisma. Like he's got the it or whatever. But anyway, those guys all went off to New York. And then I met Jay. I was about a year in when I finally met Jay and Kurt. And then at a year and a half in, Jay was like, you got to go to New York. And I was like, okay. And then he was like, move in with me. We need a roommate. So I did. And that was, 14 years ago or whatever. I don't know. It was a long time ago.
What kind of guys were you into back then? What was getting you into comedy? Because you had like a music comedy duo at the beginning, right? When you started.
How'd you know that?
I read that somewhere. I was
Holy
like,
shit.
Because I remember back when you had that, the rap kind of show.
We still have it.
Oh, you do?
You got to come do that.
I've been wanting to do it.
We only have guests when we need when one of the hosts isn't there. So like the next time one of us drops out, like which happens sort of frequently, like come in and do it, man.
I love that.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
I was there. I went to the first one. It was great.
Yeah, it was fun. Thank you for that again.
Yeah, you just riff on the old rap videos.
Yeah. We're doing it this Saturday actually.
Oh wow, that's great.
But anyway,
you had a comedy duo. My question was, who gets you into comedy? Like, are you watching Carlin? What are you doing?
Carlin is the key person for me,
right,
and will always be. When I was 12 years old, without realizing I wanted to do stand-up comedy, when I was 12 years old, I saw George Carlin for the first time, and I didn't phrase it this articulately. Is that a word?
Yeah.
In my head when I saw it, but at 12 years old, I saw Carlin for the first time, and I realized that it was a fascinating thing that you could get on stage and tell people what you thought. The opinion part to me was the real juice.
Yeah.
The funny part was a really nice bonus.
Yeah.
But the opinion part to me was really, it was the Doing It Again special, and I remember watching it with my cousin, and I just remember realizing here's a guy that's older than my parents, and he's saying things that my parents would ground me for saying.
Right.
So, wow, there's like a whole other world out there somewhere, you know. And as a Catholic school kid, it was very, very intriguing to me.
Same with me in the 70s. It was like, you know, it was Carlin, and it was Pryor, and it was Cheech and Chong.
Sure.
And, you know, my best friend, his stepdad had these records. And while he's at work, we would sneak them on.
Yeah.
And we'd hear fucking fuck
Yeah.
and shit and weed smoking and drug references.
Yeah.
And we were like, wow.
Yeah, yeah.
It's hard to believe that anything like that would grab you now in the internet world, you know?
It's wild. I just worked with Cheech and Chong.
Wow,
and
you did?
Yeah.
Wow, what'd you do? Open for him or something?
So Gotham Comedy Club in New York has a show called Gotham Live. It's on Access Television, and they have celebrity hosts come in, and I've done it a bunch of times, but this last time I did it, Cheech and Chong hosted.
Wow.
And it was mind-blowing to me. And to hang out with them after the show and talk shop, and it was just fucking wild, man.
I saw him like 10 years ago at the Roxy when they first got back together.
Uh-huh.
And I'd never got to see him, of course, you know.
Yeah.
I saw those films, Up in Smoke, and the Corsican Brothers or whatever, that one and all that. But to see him do the stand-up, like, I was like, well, they actually act him out and shit, you know?
Yeah, it was crazy, man. And they did this bit about Santa Claus at the top that I'd never heard, and they were like, after the show, I was like, how much of that is you guys just riffing? And he's like, a lot of it.
Yeah.
And he's like, but you know, he's like, that's probably only the third time we ever did that one on stage. But like, so I was like, these guys are still breaking like new ground with material and stuff. And it was fucking really funny.
Yeah.
And they were just cool as shit. And
God, did you get a photo with him?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a photo with me and Cheech and Chong. And I showed it to Burr, and he's like, you got to fucking frame that.
Hell yeah, dude.
But it was just wild, man. And then the funny part was Cheech. I talked to Cheech more than I talked to Chong.
Right.
Just for no reason. It was just the way it ended up. But he was like, where are you from, man? And I was like, Philly. And I was like, well, I grew up in the suburbs outside of Philly. And he's like, what suburb, man? And I was like, you don't know it, dude. Trust me.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, man, where? And I was like, dude, trust me. And he's like, no, man, come on, where? And I was like, it's called Collegeville, man. It's near King of Prussia. And he's like, man, I used to live near King of Prussia. And I was like, what? And he goes, I know what you're talking about.
Wow.
And I was like, when the fuck did you live near King of Prussia? And he's like, in like the 80s.
Yeah.
And I was like, after you were famous? Why?
Yeah.
He's like, I was married. My wife at the time, she was like an Olympic horse person. So we had a horse ranch out there.
Wow.
And I was like, and he's like, yeah, man, Valley Forge Park, man. And I was like, I go, dude, if I would have knew that you lived out there when I was that young, I was like, that would have blown my fucking brain out of my head.
What, right?
Like, I wouldn't have been able to even understand that somebody famous lived near me.
I saw him in a Sam Shepard play with
cool.
with Sean Penn and Nick Nolte.
Which play was it?
I forget what it's called, but there he was, like 5 feet from me, you know. And I was
Where'd you see it?
San Francisco.
Holy shit, that's wild.
Great fucking play, man.
Dude, Sean Penn and Nick Nolte, that is a fucking...
It was
Jesus
epic,
Christ,
dude.
man.
Epic.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the best plays. I also saw that Buffalo Nickel one right after Al Pacino was in Scarface.
Oh, so you saw American Buffalo with Pacino?
With Pacino.
As Teach.
After Scarface, dude.
Wow.
And it was just like, oh my God. And those two plays are probably two of the best things I've ever seen in my life.
I'm
Up
sure.
there with Rollins live at UC Berkeley doing spoken word like 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Those three things and Karen Finley, performance art.
I don't know who Karen Finley is.
She's like a radical, like performance artist back in the day, and now she's doing it again. But those four things I would say are the most, besides concerts, embedded in my brain of like, I can't believe I saw that.
Yeah. It's nice to have those. I saw Frank Sinatra. It was the first concert I ever saw.
Wow.
During his last run at Radio City Music Hall, and Don Rickles opened.
Wow.
So that will always be my be all end all of like, I can't believe I sat in a room with those two people.
How old were you?
15.
Wow.
I was already
were
a
you
Sinatra
guy?
Yeah.
Holy shit, really?
Yeah, I got into Sinatra when I was like 13 or 14, and then when I was 15, and I was a Don Rickles fan, and I And my buddy Scott called me and he goes, "This is not a joke. This is not a joke. Don Rickles is opening for Frank Sinatra Radio. We have to go. We have to." And I was like, "Dude, I'm in. Let's do it."
Yeah.
My mom let me take a day off from school.
Yeah.
Because she was even like, "You'll never get to see this ever again," you know? And she was right. He fucked the next week he collapsed on stage there, and then like I don't think he ever played Radio City ever again.
Wow.
So it was pretty fucking wild, man.
Yeah,
but
man. Don Rickles, man. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Him and like I think about the old school comedy that as I get older now and do comedy, I've only been doing it 7 years, but I really think about how lucky I was to see these greats. And one of them was Don Rickles, but then Jonathan Winters, you know,
Sure.
that fucking guy, man.
Sure.
Like that show he used to have on Showtime or whatever.
Yeah.
That thing was next level funny.
yeah, he's amazing, man.
Oh,
he's
man.
amazing. I'm a big Twilight Zone fan.
Oh, I love that.
In fact,
the old shit.
Yeah, it's my favorite TV show of all time. And but I just watched on New Year's Day again the game of pool with Jack Klugman and Jonathan Winters.
Yeah.
And it's like a tour de force in acting. I mean, they're just so good, man. They're both so fucking good in it. But I saw Carlin twice. You know, my favorite time of seeing him. You know, I would put this in my top 4 as you did. I saw him on his last. I saw him during the first leg of his last tour.
Wow.
So he was on stage with papers at the music fair in Long Island, and he was doing the bits by reading them off the papers because he didn't have them memorized yet.
Really?
And it was all the stuff that would become the last special.
Wow.
And then stuff that didn't make it into the special too.
Was it still funny how
Fucking
he was
great. He
delivering it?
killed.
Right. Yeah, because I just had
he writes it like clearly with the inflections and everything, so he still delivered it the same. He just like had to read it.
I had Josh Wolf on, and he said that he watched him run a special, and he writes it all out word for word.
Yeah.
And it's timed down to 59 minutes, like 40 seconds, and it's exact every time.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, he did it. He did it like that. He was like, "Excuse me, I have to read the stuff because I don't have it memorized yet, but this is how I learn it." And he was like telling us about his process of learning it. And then he had a chair on stage. He never sat, but he was like, "Pardon the chair, I might have to sit. I have heart failure."
Whoa.
And he was like, "I always thought heart failure was an event. It's not. It's a process." So he's like, "I might have to sit down," but he never did. He was great. And then we left, and my buddy who was with me, who was a comic, was complaining. He's like, "I could have done without the papers." I go, "Dude, we just saw George Carlin do a fucking open mic. Do you understand how few people are ever going to see that?"
Yeah, the process, man.
I was like, "Dude, we just saw like." They just let us behind the ride at Disney World. We just saw the gears.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
dude, you don't... That's fucking amazing,
That
man.
is, man. Anybody could go see the polished thing.
Exactly.
Because to me, all those guys, since I was so young when I saw all these guys, to me, I didn't see them working the material. It was like on a tour, up and running, you know? I didn't even know till I did comedy that you went and worked shit out. I thought you just walked in and you had the shit.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. That's what I thought,
I
too.
really thought that.
Yeah, when I first started, the first time I ever did stand-up on my own, after the sketch music thing I was trying to do didn't work out, like I said, I loved Carlin and I loved opinions and all this stuff. And I wrote a 3 or 5 page, whatever it was, sort of declaration.
Right.
And I went on stage and I did it.
Yeah.
Like, I just read it, you know, because I thought, like, well, that's what you do. You just go.
You
out
were an early alt comic.
Yeah.
Turns out you invented it.
I didn't. Who knew?
Some guys saw Joe DeRosa. They're like, "Hey, this is how you do it. You go on stage with notes and you just read it."
Yeah, I didn't know what I was fucking doing, man. But it was. But anyway,
Did it get any laughs?
it got enough that I went back for more.
Right.
But you know, I'm sure if I looked at it by my standard today of what's good, I would fucking cringe.
Of course.
But funny enough, I did pull out one of the jokes from that one of the first jokes I ever wrote. I pulled one of them out like a year ago.
Yeah, I did that too.
And it worked, and
Yeah.
it kind of fit into something, and then it stopped fitting in, and I just stopped doing it. But I was
did
like,
it on
oh,
my
wow.
7-year anniversary. I just remembered one of the jokes, so I did it mid-set. It just came
Sure.
out, and I did it. And it worked, and I did a little bit, and then I just kind of it went to the side. But it's just like a flashback of like, here I am at the Improv 7 years later.
Sure.
At the stage I walked on and started on.
Yeah, that's an amazing thing. That's an amazing thing. I wish I knew the date that I started, but I don't.
You don't know it, huh?
I know the month.
Right.
It was December.
Yeah,
but
mine was too.
know.
December 6th, 2009.
It was somewhere in there. December was when I started doing actual stand-up. I started the other thing in October.
Right.
And then that lasted it was very fleeting.
What was it, like a music combo, like a Jack Black kind of thing? What was it?
I had no plans to get into comedy. I'd always, since college, had wanted to do it, but I was too afraid to be on stage by myself because I was a musician. So I was used to being on stage with at least one other person.
Yeah.
And I just, we got it. My friend and I went into an open mic one night. We were used to be in a band together. We were playing songs. The audience was drunk. We were kind of drunk. They weren't listening. We started making up songs and making fun of them.
Yeah.
And the guy that ran the bar thought it was our act. And he was like, you guys are funny. Why don't you come do a comedy show in here? And my buddy was kind of like, well, we're not really we're just fucking around,
Yeah.
And I was like, let's do it, dude. That'll be fun. Because I thought, well, I always wanted to try this.
Yeah. And that's a safety net, right?
Yeah.
Another buddy, so you can riff off of him.
Yeah.
If it's not happening, then you just play the music.
Yeah. So we did it. We did it really. That's how we started doing it. And we were at the time, we didn't know how to do anything. So we loved Mr. Show.
Oh, yeah.
And we loved Andy Kaufman.
Okay.
We loved anything irreverent. So we just did all this weird, irreverent stuff.
Right.
And some of it was, you couldn't pay me money to say half of the shit now. But it was, I wouldn't say ballsy because that would imply that we were afraid to do it.
Yeah.
And did it anyway. It's more like stupidity.
Yeah,
we didn't know.
Yeah,
because you're in this like little shitty bar in this tiny town, and there's 7 people there. There's no real threat of anything. So you just kind of say whatever you want and don't really think about that there's a bigger world out there. And not that we were going up and telling like sexist jokes or racist jokes or anything. We were making commentaries that to this day I would still agree with or stand by.
Yeah.
We were just doing it in a way where we thought, oh, here's how you do it. You make it really offensive.
Yeah.
In order to make the point.
Well, that's what I thought because I saw Dice and Kinnison, like in the 80s. Of course, we had Seinfeld and all that stuff. But then you get into the sucking my dick, and all that. And you're like, oh, that's how you do it. You just shock them with like, eat my ass or whatever,
Well, to this day, my favorite comedy album of all time is The Day the Laughter Died.
Of course, I love it.
By Andrew Dice Clay.
Yeah.
And some people, when you say that, they kind of scoff, and I go, no, it's a piece of performance art.
Yep.
It's the only Dice album where he is being self-effacing and he's trying to be offensive. He's saying things that are so ridiculous, and he knows they're ridiculous.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like the thing where he's talking about how like he won't let his girlfriend have an orgasm till she builds an addition on the house. It's so fucking crazy.
Yeah. And just the lunacy of I love that they put it out, like Rick Rubin's like, yeah, this is what we're going to do. We're going to put this out, you're just going to go with no material and see what we get.
Well, and that's the thing too. And to me, that's supporting evidence of how brilliant the album really is because Rick Rubin is involved with it.
Yeah.
And Rick Rubin, to me, you'd be pretty hard pressed to find anything not of value that Rick Rubin was involved with.
I've been talking about it for years. It's amazing. There was a time where it didn't matter what Rick Rubin put out. I just bought it. It didn't matter the style of music or anything. Everything he touched had so much street cred and credibility. There was a story that went around that he was so red hot that when he would go to clubs to see a band, other labels would be like, hey, Rick's here. And then the label would be like, just sign the band. Fuck it.
Right.
So Rick would have to do this scam where he'd go find a shit band at like the Viper Room, watch them for a few minutes, slip out the back and go see the real band he wanted to see up the street.
Right.
And then people would be like, Rick's here. Oh, what? At that shitty band? I guess sign him, That's how fucking, finger of gold he had.
That's fucking hilarious.
Yeah,
a
now
lot of guys
later
made
on,
money.
I always hear stuff like, "Oh, Rick wasn't around. He didn't do." I always hear this stuff from like Black Crowes or AC/DC or whatever. But no matter what, you can say that American record, starting all the way back with Deaf American, up until let's say like Masters of Reality, Slayer, and even the hip hop he was doing and shit.
Well, I mean, dude, he co-founded Def
Ghetto
Jam.
Boys.
Right? He co-founded Def Jam with Russell Simmons.
Out of a dorm.
That's the beginning.
Yeah.
Then he's got Def American. Yeah, I think the first release on Def American is that first re-release of the Ghetto Boys album.
Exactly.
Which they reworked. It's a fucking masterpiece.
Absolutely. Bushwick Bill, all that shit is just killer.
It's a fucking masterpiece. Then
they do Slayer.
Yeah, Slayer.
Yeah.
He did the first 2 Black Crow albums?
Yeah.
Or the first 3?
All the Black Crowes records up until, later on. But the first few are just masterpieces. And then don't forget about, like, Masters of Reality, which is basically Chris Goss, who started, the whole desert thing.
Right.
By working with Caius.
Right.
And then also, he worked... Johnny Cash, of course, the obvious, but just all this shit,
Well, was responsible for the comebacks of Johnny Cash, Neil Diamond.
Yeah,
Neil Diamond back to his roots.
Yeah.
Metallica.
Yep.
Did the second Marshall Mathers record for Eminem.
Right.
Which I think was his biggest selling album ever or something. It's so crazy.
Four Horsemen. That was this killer band, man, that sounded like AC/DC, but they were Southern. That is a fucking record right there, the Four Horsemen, man. Check it out. One record.
And did I say it? He did the Metallica.
Yep. Yeah, he did the Death Magnetic.
Death Magnetic.
Yep.
Which is sort of a comeback album.
He also worked a little bit, from what I hear, but it didn't happen. But on one of my favorite records ever, Lucinda Williams, Car Wheels on a Gravel Road.
I don't know it.
Yeah, that's a fucking smasher. But the guy is unbelievable. He's a music encyclopedia. He fucking worships stuff, and anything he touched had street cred right away.
Yeah, he's amazing. But I want to talk about...
Oh, yeah.
Because we just talked about Metallica for a second. We talked about this a little bit at lunch, and then we bailed because we wanted to save it for this.
Yeah, because you don't like the new record, which is really weird to me. Now, let's back this up. You are a huge Metallica fan like me. Mm-hmm. You love all the records, even the Load records. Do you like the Lou Reed record?
No,
I do. I like it.
I found that record to be an abomination. I couldn't even listen to it.
You know what I like about it is at least they did something, different. You know what I mean?
I agree with that.
Yeah.
I feel that. And I give more. I have a higher tolerance for certain movies.
Yeah.
But that's how I felt about like Suicide Squad. I was like, it's not a good movie, but they tried to do something different, and I appreciated that.
Right.
I appreciate that part about it with Lulu. Was it called?
Yep.
But I can't listen to it.
Right.
I mean, it's But hey, fuck it. Whatever. They did their thing. But
you don't like the new record.
Well, let me say this. Okay. I don't dislike the new record.
Right.
And I don't love Load and Reload. I like Load and Reload.
Right.
And I like the new record.
Right.
I'm disappointed in the new record. I was never disappointed in Load and Reload because you knew it was coming.
Right.
I thought Death Magnetic, my favorite album is Injustice for All.
Yep.
We talked about that. I thought Death Magnetic really did a nice job of bridging the gap between Injustice for All and the Black Album.
Of course.
And I thought this new album was going to be, when I heard that first single, man.
Yeah.
Now, I didn't like the title from the beginning. Hardwired was a cool title to me. Hardwired ... to self-destruct is cheesy, in my opinion. But that song blew me the fuck away. I thought it was amazing.
Yep.
Then I heard Moth to a Flame. I thought it was amazing.
Yep.
Then I heard Atlas Rise, and I thought that was solid.
Yep.
Yeah, and I was like, okay, man, this is going to be a goddamn Metallica record. And then I got the record, and aside from those 3 songs and the last song,
Spit Out the Bone,
which is, in my opinion, one of the best songs they've ever written.
That's what I say. Unbelievable. I'm on the same boat as you. Those are the 4 tunes.
Those are the 4 tunes, but then you've got another 8 or 10 or whatever it is that are, I think it's another 8. I think how many?
I think it's only
8
10.
songs per disc. I
Yeah,
think.
yeah.
So you got 16 tracks. So you got another 12 tracks.
Right.
You know, they're not bad songs, but it's like there's just so many that are like the throwaway tracks from the Black Album to me, where I'm just like,
What are the throwaway tracks on the Black Album?
I don't really like Of Wolf and Man that much.
Right.
The God That Failed is
I love
okay.
that. I love that tune.
It's okay.
Yeah.
It's not a bad song, but it's not Wherever I May Roam.
Of course, I know that.
It's not Holier Than Thou.
I know that.
Do you know what I mean?
It's not sad but true. Yeah.
It's not sad but true. It's not Enter Sandman.
Yeah.
And I'm not just trying to name like the pop. Like to me, Holier Than Thou that's my favorite song on that album.
Mine
like
is Wherever I May Roam.
That song's amazing too.
God damn.
But like when you pit those songs next to the other songs we're talking about,
Yeah, of course.
you're like, those songs are solid, but they're kind of fucking boring. Like they trudge along. That they're more singy.
Yeah,
they don't have the growl or the
Well,
bite.
we don't like the singy. I get it. What bugged me about the record?
The new one?
Yeah, and I did a whole review on the record. I made my own thing. I made it an 8-song record. I said, here, you got an 8-song record.
I did that too. I made a playlist, and I was like, okay, if it was these 8 tracks.
Smoking.
Yeah.
Smoking.
Yeah.
My big fucking fuck you to everybody was they said how they're back. And which was saying, like, to me, they were implying that the last record sucked. And just 8 years ago, everybody was saying this record, Death Magnetic, is awesome. And I wouldn't put Death Magnetic on right after I put on Hardwired. And I was like, this record fucking smokes, man. Also, like there's, it wasn't like, and then people hate Saint Anger, and me and Florentine love Saint Anger.
I like Saint Anger.
Me too.
I don't think the entire album is great.
I don't either, but man.
But I think that to me, Saint Anger is their.
It's like a punk record to me, man.
It's great. It's one of my favorite records to play drums to.
Yeah.
I love the way it's produced. It's so weird. I think this new Metallica is a unique album.
Yeah.
I just don't ever have the urge to put it on, which is a real bummer because
man, I played it for like a month straight. Now I'm a little burnt on it. But man, I think that Moth to the Flame.
That's a great song.
Yeah, man. Listen.
I like the second to last song too.
Yeah. That's why I made an 8-song thing. I got the second to last one in there. But look, in a day and age of a guy being 53, 54 years old, if they can even write 2 fucking songs that take you back to Ride the Lightning, man. I mean,
sure.
Imagine, like, comedy is different than music, and I've said this over and over. Comedy is you get better as the years go by. Like, you don't want to watch some guy's first special compared to his like 5th special. You know what I mean?
Right.
So if guys that are billionaires or multi-millionaires that Metallica are, they have kids, ex-wives, multiple properties, houses, boats, and everything.
Right.
If they can get in a room and somehow kick the magic up and come out with 4 fucking songs, I'm blown away.
No,
I'm blown away.
It's great. And there's not a doubt in my mind that they couldn't have churned out an entire album like that. I think they very clearly were like, we want to cover all we do.
Yeah.
All that we have done. I think Saint Anger is like Metallica's No Code.
Right? Oh, yeah.
Which is a great Pearl Jam record,
Yeah.
but it's sideways from the other ones. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I would equate those two, and I think in hindsight, Saint Anger is going to be like a classic.
I really believe it. Everybody like shits on it. Like, I hate when they go like, "Oh, the drums sound shitty," and I'm like, "Who's even listening to that?" To me, it's like, "Here's the songs. They're punching me in the face. I don't break down."
I think it all sounds awesome. It sounds like they're in a garage. It's sloppy as shit.
Oh, I love it.
I love Ballistic. I like the song Saint Anger. I love some kind of
video at
monster.
San Quentin.
Yeah.
You know, and everybody shit on him because of the movie. I love that movie.
No, I love that movie.
Me too, man.
That song Broken Window is...
Oh, fuck.
But as I look over at your collection, which is what made me think of the Pearl Jam thing.
Oh, yeah.
You know, you take Never Say Die, dude. Never Say Die is one of my favorite Sabbath albums.
Unbelievable.
It's real late era. What is the second to last that Ozzy did, right?
Yeah.
Or is it the last one?
That's the last one, because before that, it's Technical Ecstasy or
I can't remember if that one's last or not.
Flop. Yeah.
But Never Say Die is fucking incredible.
Unbelievable.
And it's like, now you're talking 7 albums in, 6 albums in.
Yep.
They go in a different direction on that. It's still awesome.
Yep.
I don't have
but
a problem.
A lot of people hate it, though.
Oh,
It's
that's
weird.
nuts, man.
I know, but
Johnny Blade could be my
Oh.
favorite Sabbath song I've
What
ever
about
heard.
Never Say Die, the title track? It's unbelievable. But
Yeah.
some people would be like, nah, I'm not into that. You know, it's like, what?
No, man, that album is incredible. So, yeah, I don't know, man. I like when bands move in new directions, and I guess that maybe that was what I was disappointed with on the Metallica record. For me, with bands, I want one of two things to happen: new direction, or you give me what I love about you already.
Right. Like the Ramones. Stick to what you do.
And when the Ramones went off that track, it didn't work.
Yeah,
You know
remember
what I
they
mean?
did that one record, had the KKK, took my baby away on it, whatever. A lot of people are like, that's a weird record for, but I like that one.
Yeah, that record's not bad. To me, like the pits of the Ramones is like that Acid Eaters album where
Yeah.
they do all the 60s covers.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Because now all of a sudden they're doing like 3.5 minute long songs, and
Yeah.
they're not doing the Ramones. It's not even like they took the songs and made them more Ramonesy in certain places.
They
Like
just did the covers.
It just sounds like covers, but to me at least. But yeah, you know, like look, I love NoFX. They're one of my favorite bands, and one of the things I love about NoFX now, because they lost me for a while because they went way too hard down the political road.
Right.
And they started changing up their formula and shit. And I was like, this isn't fucking working, man.
Yeah.
Like, if it works, great. If you do what Radiohead does and it works, great. You
Yeah.
keep going. We're going to go a little further this way now. And you're like, wow, they
That
fucking
Kid A?
did it.
Yeah, here it is, Kid A, right?
Yeah. But like for certain bands, to me, it doesn't work. And I feel like, and then NoFX started doing their shit again that made me love them to begin with, like anthemic, melodic, poppy punk that's really hard edged, but with very melodic with harmonies.
Yeah.
And it's great. And Metallica is a band that I think is capable of going way over here or staying on the course. But unfortunately, on this album, they stayed on the course for some of the songs, which I loved, and then a lot of it they revisited the course that I didn't find that interesting. It's like, I don't want, when you tell me we're back and we're thrashing and we're ready to kick ass, I don't want 70% of the fucking album to be mid-tempo.
Yeah, yeah.
70% of that album is mid-tempo.
Yeah. Well, I think that what's funny is, as much as they probably won't admit it, I think that they're always chasing that Black Album hit. You know what I mean? I really believe that they inside of them, that not maybe intentionally, but maybe inside they're like, this might be a little bit of a Sandman get on the radio thing or something, you know? And I don't know, at this point in your career, you don't need to be on the radio at all.
Well, you don't. And then also, too, I hope that's not what they're doing. But if they are, it's like, you know, the other thing, too, is it's just that kind of music is not going to get played on the radio anymore.
Right.
Like, it's just
but what
not
I'm saying
popular.
is, don't you think as a human, people are always like, God, I want to beat fucking Black Album, you know?
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, I think every artist is probably always trying to outdo themselves.
Yeah.
You know, well, not every artist, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So I understand that. I get that. Like that makes sense. But yeah, I would have preferred another Saint Anger to this last album. But I mean, it's not bad. I was just disappointed in it.
Well, I think it's great, but I don't think people that, like I said, all said they're back. I hate when people say that. It's like, what are you talking about, man? This shit, the last couple records were great, you idiots. And you even say it if you dig up reviews. They're like, this record's incredible, Death Magnetic. We could talk all day about Metallica. You know?
Right.
You're also heavily into hip hop, right? Like,
yeah, real heavy.
Early hip hop, though. Do you like hip hop now?
I like some of the stuff now. I think, like, I used to say I like older stuff, and I started to learn that wasn't true. What was true was I like a certain type of rap music more than another type of rap music. So at one time, the type of rap music I really prefer was the majority of rap, and it's just not the majority anymore.
Gangster rap, or what were...
It's less about the gangster. I love gangster rap, but it's less about that, and it's more just about the approach to it. You know, right. I like hard beats. I like samples. Yeah. I like really raw rhymes. You know, like, so I don't have any ill will towards any current rapper. And there are current guys out there that I really love. Like, you know, Czarface is a group I really like a lot. You know, I love Sean Price and. there are plenty of contemporary artists out there that I really, really like a lot. But I don't like the stuff on the, and again, it's their thing, so like do your thing or whatever, but I don't really like the radio stuff that's like really like sort of slow and like synthy and like hi-hat and auto-tuney, and I don't know. I just don't really dig that stuff. It just doesn't have, I like a beat to come on and you'd be like, God damn, that beat is fucking sick.
Like Fight the Power,
Yeah. And then the rhymes over the beat to be, I like punchlines. I like dudes that like really spit,
Yeah.
So, but there's so many types of rap now,
There is. It's so funny when we were young, when I was young, you had that early stuff, of course, like Rapper's Delight and all that early Queens and Brooklyn stuff and everything. It was pretty simple, You had like an 808 drum machine and some sounds, or whatever.
Right.
And then it gets into a little bit of Paul's Boutique, lots of sampling. You get into some radio hip hop.
Right.
And then you get into that gangster stuff. But to me, it really, if you look at, I think like Public Enemy, I feel like they're so underrated, like they were just so, I mean, at the time they were huge.
Yeah.
But like that Spike Lee, Do the Right Thing, and that Public Enemy, Fear of a Black Planet record.
They're an unstoppable force. They're really amazing. I just saw Public Enemy, EPMD, Curtis Blow, Mobb Deep, and Ice-T, and Kool Keith made a special guest appearance at the Palladium, and it was
here in Hollywood.
Yeah.
When was that?
It was before Christmas.
Wow.
I think it was before Thanksgiving.
Like a radio show or something?
It was Ice-T's Art of Rap tour.
Wow.
So he would go to different cities, and have different groups play. But I mean, for me, my like, what's not a trifecta, but four. What would you call that?
Like the four?
Like if you said my trifecta, that would be three.
Right.
You know what I mean? Not quartet. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Your fourplex.
Yeah. Hat trick, is that four?
No, that's three.
That's three. But
your home run.
Yeah.
That's four bases.
No, it's three bases, right? No, it only counts as three though.
No, it's home plate, right? Four.
If the bases are loaded, that's a grand slam.
Yeah, right. Yeah, so your grand slam.
My grand slam would be from growing up would be Ice-T, EPMD, Public Enemy, and Ultramagnetic / Kool Keith.
Right.
And it's like, to see all of them there. I literally said when I got the ticket, the only way this could get better is if Kool Keith was on the bill. And in the middle of Ice-T's set, he just was like, hey man, can I bring a friend of mine out here? A total surprise, and he brings Kool Keith out. Wow. I was like, what the fuck?
Wow.
And he let Kool Keith do a song, and then Kool Keith just left.
How did it sound?
Amazing. They all sounded amazing.
Yeah, because I went to rap early on, in the 80s, early 90s, and they were running those samplers that took a while to load up.
Right.
So they would do a song, and then they'd be up there like, yeah, man, all right.
Yeah.
Oakland, you out there? All right.
Yeah.
And they'd just be talking, and like for a serious 3, 4, sometimes 5 minutes, and then kick it, come on. It was so weird.
Right, yeah.
And then they were all like, mobbing, like,
yeah.
I remember Ice Cube was saying how when he brought rappers in under his wing, he immediately teach them how to hold a mic because they were just didn't know what the fuck they were doing.
Yeah, KRS-One used to bitch about that too.
Yeah.
That's on the Sex and Violence album by Boogie Down Productions. There's an interview where he does that. This is what the fuck y'all sound like, man. What the fuck y'all sound like when you be holding the mic like that?
It's crazy, right?
Yeah. But yeah, an NWA and Ice Cube would be in the fifth slot.
Unbelievable, Ice Cube.
So like that show was really, really just incredible. But what I'm getting at, to me, if I had to give you like a prototype of my favorite kind of rap, it would be EPMD, because I'd be like, here are guys that come with tremendous beats. Their rhymes are really raw. They're really direct.
Yeah.
They're clever. Their DJ's amazing, and cuts and scratches. Like I just like shit like that. So groups out there that are still doing shit like that, and there are groups out there doing it. Like MF Doom is, he still does very like sort of traditional East Coast. And now it's experimental. You know, a lot of the Stones Throw stuff is in that vein of East Coast New York hip hop, but it's also pushes the envelope. So that's really cool to me.
That is cool.
So I like that stuff, but I a lot. So there are plenty of contemporary guys that I like, but you know, Boot Camp Click still does cool stuff, and you know, and then all the groups I mentioned are still putting records out. So like that's all great too. Premiere still does great stuff. I like Bumpy Knuckles, and you know, there's a lot of people out there, but as far as like the younger dudes are concerned, I'm just not into the stuff you hear on the radio that's like very like if you go into the new release section on iTunes in the hip hop section, you know, you see what 30 albums or whatever, and out of the 30, 25 of them are that.
Yeah.
You know,
same formula.
Yeah, I gotta, you know, it'll be like I got a boom boom, and no taxes. Instead of bleh, I'm off axis. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's all just really like slow. So it's like, whatever, it's cool, but I'm not into it.
It's crazy, right? And then they just make up sayings that don't mean anything too. You know, it's like, yo, a Caucasian with a tree on your nickel. And you're like, what? You know what I mean? Like, what? It is. Yeah, sometimes I laugh, like, what did he just say? Back that up, you know?
But I like Kendrick Lamar a lot. Kendrick's really good.
Yeah, everybody
he's fucking
seems
great.
to like him. He's doing Coachella.
He's fucking great.
Yeah.
I like Yellow Wolf. I like La Coca Nostra.
Oh yeah,
it's great. You know, there's dudes. I like some of the ASAP stuff. Oh, I like Joey Badass a lot. But Joey Badass it's weird now that like 93 is a throwback.
Yeah.
So it's like Joey Badass does stuff and it sounds like 93.
Yeah.
Which I love. I think that's really cool. But I just like shit like that.
You ever get in that guy Paris, the Oakland rapper? Remember him?
I have most of Paris's albums.
I got them too, all on vinyl.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, I got them. I got Bush Killer. Then I got the first one, the
Devil
Black
Made Me
Panther.
Do It.
Oh, Devil Made. Oh my God. Yeah. That guy, man, was just so smoking and didn't get anything. But that Devil Made Me Do It record is unbelievable.
Yeah,
man.
my favorite is the second one, Sleeping with the Enemy, and that's the one with Bush Killer on it.
Yeah.
That's the one that he got in trouble for, and they dropped him. And
that's when he got cut off immediately.
Yeah,
because he had a lot of hype coming. You know, it was like Tupac, him. There was a guy named Ray Love. All these Oakland guys that were rolling. Yeah, and they were really fucking. He was, to me, was the dude. He sounded a little bit like Chuck D. His shit was really, Black Panther, like hitting you in the face.
One of the best voices, literal, like voices in the literal sense, and then also in the expression sense of expression. Like he was a voice to be reckoned with, but then his voice also sounds amazing.
It really does.
And he's a really, really good rapper. He really
I heard he put
knows.
a record out recently.
He did. I just got a record by him. What's that? Not just. I mean, I got. There's one called Sonic Jihad that's really good.
I remember that.
That came out like during the second Bush administration. I got one. There's one called Gorilla Funk. There's one called
Gorilla Funk. I got that.
I just got this one. It's from '98, but I can't remember the name of it right now. But I got it at Amoeba. It was in the out of print section, so I grabbed it, and I'd never heard of it, but it's really good. But he's great. Yeah, he still puts stuff out all the time. Yeah. But he did an album with Public Enemy.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What the fuck's that called?
He did an album with Public Enemy that he produced and wrote all the lyrics because he wanted to do a Public Enemy album that sounded like 90s Public Enemy.
So he did it with them, Chuck D?
Yeah, it's Chuck and Flavor and Griff and everybody.
Wow.
And it's called... God, man, my brain is just getting mushy.
I gotta fucking find that. Is it on iTunes?
I'll tell you in 2 seconds.
Wow, it's on iTunes.
I think it is on iTunes. I have it on my phone here, though, so give me 1 second.
Oh, man, I gotta hear that. That's like a dream team right there.
You'd like it. There's some really killer tracks.
That's kind of like Burn, Hollywood Burn. Remember when they had all the guys on? That was fucking great.
It's called, God damn, my brain.
Yeah,
Rebirth of a Nation.
Wow. What year?
2006.
Holy shit, I didn't hear nothing about that.
So the cover is Paris, Chuck D, and Flavor, but like I'm pretty sure Griff's on it. I think they're all on it. But He really nails it in a couple places. Like it sounds like old Public Enemy.
Griff was an outlaw. Remember him back in the day? Wow, what a loony.
He still says crazy shit that I don't agree with at all.
All right? It's just like, hey, man, what year are you living in?
Yeah, man. I don't. He's. You can find YouTube videos of that guy saying really like gross homophobic shit, and it's just like, come on, dude, what are you doing, man?
Yeah,
like you guys are, but it's never with Public Enemy. It's always he's always like on his own somewhere in like what looks like the basement of a bookstore.
Yep.
So like, I don't know, man.
He's doing a spoken word tour,
but they threw him out of the group for a while.
I remember. I saw him when he was in the group. I saw the Fear of the Black Planet tour at the Shoreline. And it Humpty opened, Tupac dancing, all that stuff, you know. Nice. And man, let me tell you, dude, that fucking show was monumental.
My buddy's friends with Shock G. Speaking of Oakland,
Greg.
Yeah, and we the first thing I did in L.A. when I moved to L.A., he called me and he goes, "Do you want to go hang out with Shock G and then watch him perform on Friday?"
Oh fuck
and I was like, yeah, and we Ubered to his hotel, and we drank with him in his hotel room.
Wow.
And then went to the show with him. We had a fucking blast.
Wow.
And at the end of the night, he was like, he didn't like me at first, man.
Yeah.
He's kind of giving me shit, and I was like, I don't think he likes me, dude.
Yeah.
And then he came around. Then he actually said to me, he's like, I didn't like you at first, man, but I think you're funny now. I like you. And I was like, Scott, see, I told you didn't fucking like me. And then at the end of the night, he was like, get me one of your CDs. So Scott gave him one of my CDs. Yeah. And then this was really cool. Scott texted me this huge, like, I'm patting my own back right now, but it was really cool. All these successive texts from Shock G saying like, I know Joe. I loved his half hour. I saw it. He does that insane clown posse joke. It's fucking funny, man. I like this guy, you know? Yeah. So that was like really like a cool moment, you know?
Let's get a little bit back into the comedy. You, to me, I was talking to Ian about this a couple of days ago. We were on a show together like 2 nights ago. But
Ian who?
I feel like
Which Ian?
Ian Edwards.
Oh, Edwards. Okay.
Yeah, and I feel like you're like a guy that I never fucking see anywhere. But then, like, you've got a new special coming out. Yeah. And you've got multiple records and stuff. Where do you work? Do you go on every night, or do you just, like, go on the road? Because I never see you. I see you, like, twice a year, and I'm out every night. You know what I mean? I'm like, hey, DeRosa was on the show a couple nights ago, and I was like, I hadn't seen that guy in a year.
Yeah, I don't go up every night, very much by choice. I don't feel the need to.
Really?
And I don't say that out of any sort of arrogance or laziness. I just don't. If I have stuff to work on, I want to go on.
Yeah.
And if I don't, I don't. You know, and if I'm on the road a lot and I get my hour to a place where I'm really happy with it and I like it, I don't like breaking it apart and fucking with it to try to do it as sets.
Right.
I don't particularly care for I do it still, and I can do it, and you know, it's not a thing I'm unable to do. But I don't particularly favor the pressures of a big packed room and a showcase, and you got to go up, and everybody's got to kill, and all. You know, I just don't like it.
Yeah,
it's like fuck you, and I don't feel like fucking doing that. You know, like I don't like I'll do it.
Yeah,
but it's never enjoyable to me. What's enjoyable to me is when there's a small, intimate crowd that you can settle in with a little bit and work on stuff.
Right.
So that's maybe why you don't see me every night. But I've also never had a lot of luck with clubs.
Yeah.
And not that I don't play them. I play them all the time, particularly on the road. But, you know, in the major cities, you know, it was the same thing in New York as it is here. I have certain clubs that will show me unconditional love, and then other ones I just can't. It just doesn't happen, and I'm not going to sit there and try to make it happen.
Right.
You know, I'll put the effort into a point, but then I just go, you know what? I'm sorry. I don't want to hang around here to begin with.
Right.
So I'm certainly not going to beg to be a part of this.
Right.
So, you know, in New York, you know, the Stand showed me a ton of love.
They're so good, man.
They still do. New York Comedy Club, Gotham, Caroline's. You know, those are, I hope I'm not forgetting anybody, but those are really, you know, my 4, whatever it is. in New York. And there's a lot more clubs in New York than that, but those are really the 4 that I hit when I go back and when I was there. But like, I never was a Cellar guy, and the Cellar is the place where everybody's like, oh, the Cellar, it's New York. I was never really a Cellar guy, and I guess I could be at some point if I wanted to revisit it, but you get to a point where you're like, I'm this far. Why? Like, at this point, it clearly hasn't hurt me.
Right. So
you repeat the formula of your own success, which I've been doing, and it seems to be working. You know, so out here, I do mostly, especially here because you don't get paid really to work these clubs, to do your showcase spots. You get paid a little bit. So when it comes down to that, it's like, and you're sitting there going, I don't need $8 that badly.
Yeah.
Then it really becomes about, where do I feel like going up?
Yep.
Do you know what I mean? So for me, it's a lot of indie shows. I do the UCB shows, and I'll do Stories Book Show. My friend Dave Ross has a great show over there. Stories Bookstore, excuse me. I used to do the China Palace all the time when
that's good.
You know, I don't know if it's still going, but
so
Meltdown, yeah. I do, you know, our hip hop shows at Meltdown, and I do stuff like that, and then I do the improv a lot. But I don't have any desire to work. I'm not saying this is a diss. I have no desire to work at the Laugh Factory.
Right.
It's just, I'm just not, I don't feel that I fit in with that demographic of audience that attends there.
How do you get the stuff going? Do you just, first of all, do you write it like Carlin on paper and then go and just do it? Like, I mean, because how do you get the stuff working to get out on the road? Or do you just work it on the road?
I work it in town.
Yeah.
Like I said, the improv's been really good to me, and I have plenty of rooms around town that I can get on when I need to. And I always have a surplus of material that doesn't make it into the latest special or CD or whatever it is that I can use as my, tentpole material on the road.
Yeah.
Because people haven't heard it, and then I can work the new things in. But I work on new stuff on the road all the time. I think it's better to work on new stuff on the road because you have 45 minutes to an hour, and if it doesn't work, you can take some time to try to figure out how to make it work, or you can waste a few minutes and then get out of it and keep moving.
Yeah.
Here you try a new joke in the middle of an 8-minute set, and it's packed, and it bombs, and now you got to play this fighting game.
Dig out.
And then it's always this contest thing with the audience of, well, he wasn't as funny as the other person.
Yeah, that's so ridiculous, right?
I just don't really care about any of that stuff.
Yeah.
And in all honesty, I would like to work the store because I think I would benefit from getting more stage time there, but it's not happening.
Yeah.
And I was past there years ago, and then that fucking burnout that was running it, idiot Tommy, whatever his name was, forgot that he passed me and then was saying things like, I remember going back to try to work there and him being like, he was asking what I was doing in town. At the time I was writing for the Pete Holmes show.
Right.
And I said, I'm here because I'm writing for Pete Holmes' show, but I live here now. So you always told me if I finally lived here, I could work here. So I'm here.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm going to have to feel it, man. I'm going to have to feel it. I was like, okay. And he goes, what you did up there tonight was good. It was real good. But I don't want writers. I want comics. I go, tell me, I have 2 half-hour specials. I've been on numerous TV shows. I tour constantly. And he's like, I know you do. I know.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? Fuck this.
Yeah.
And go fuck yourself. And then I got into it one night over parking with somebody. And I was like, sorry, guys. I don't need this. Like, Adam's been very nice to me.
Yep.
Since he took over. I like him a lot. But they have a shitload of comics, and they don't really have room for new people, it doesn't seem like, unless you're one of the guys that does the up through the ranks thing, which I'm past doing. So it's like, it's just kind of like, all right, that ship has sailed, I guess.
Yeah.
It's not the end of the world. It's sort of a bummer, but not really.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like, but I think you got to do whatever works for you. You just get in where you fit in, man. And I found for me that putting out a concentrated dose of product it helped.
Yeah.
Because I have 5 albums now, and this new special will be the 6th.
That's amazing. 5 albums.
I'm sorry, no, not 5, 4.
4.
4 albums. This special will be the 5th. And, you know, man, those first four did not come out, particularly the first 3, did not come out when anybody gave a fuck about me.
Right.
You know, I recorded those I had enough interest that Comedy Central wanted to put out my first 2 albums, and they did. But I recorded those fucking things on the road, man.
Yeah.
You know, and I barely was getting up in New York at the time to do them. But putting those out, and then the 3rd album, getting those into the rotation on Sirius, other comics learning who I was, then that kid starts doing comedy, then he starts a show, then he says, hey, dude, can you come do my show?
Yeah.
Then you go do a show. Suddenly now, all these doors start opening for stage time. And I started to do that on the road as well. I got tired of playing the game of I need to beg on bended knees to play your club that brings in a bachelorette party or a bachelor party every other night. That ruined the show.
Yeah.
Fuck you. I don't want to play your club. I'm certainly not going to beg to play it.
Yeah.
If it was offered to me and I took the offer, I'd be dreading the gig.
Yeah.
Up until I had to do it and through doing it. So I'm certainly not going to beg to do it. So I started on the road to meet guys that were playing independent rooms. I started to set up my own types of runs where I would do a bunch of one-nighters in cool little venues where fans were coming out.
That's dope.
And fans of comedy were coming out versus people.
Way better. Way better. It's like now you're doing art. You're not a fucking drink salesman.
Yeah. So that's and that to me was just my approach with it. And it's always been my approach. Now, excuse me, that stuff's not on the radar.
Yeah.
In a mainstream sense. So then a lot of people think you might not be out there or whatever, but you are. You know what I mean? It's just like that method still hasn't fully come into its own yet, and it is coming into its own.
That's
and
cool
there are
as
still,
fuck.
Yeah,
that's cool, man.
There are still clubs I play on the road.
Right.
I still do. I do the Punchlines in San Fran and Sacramento, and
awesome.
I headline Gotham once a year, and you know, there are other clubs that are escaping me right now that I play, but. That's it. It's like, but then I know other guys, and this is the same thing like where it was like in New York, that play every club.
Yeah.
And I just wasn't right for every club for whatever reason. If I was right for them, they would have kept working me. But, you know, I passed Dangerfields and they didn't use me.
Yeah.
I passed the Cellar, they didn't use me. So I was like, okay, what am I going to do? Sit here and bitch that they're not using me or go do my own thing? And I chose to go do my own thing because I always equated it to music.
Yeah.
You know, my heroes, you know, I have fewer heroes in comedy than I do in music. And, you know, Carlin's a hero of mine. That was certainly his approach. Pryor, you know, the guys that you would guess would be my heroes in comedy. But, like, you know, inspirations for me comedically or just career-wise are like Zappa, Ian MacKaye.
Yeah, Fugazi.
Yeah, Fugazi, Jello Biafra, Henry Rollins. Like, people that created their own lane.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And, like, definitely, that's definitely also why I'm so into rap music, because I was listening to that music when nobody gave a fuck about it.
Yeah.
You know, I would listen to rap music since I was in the 3rd grade. Where people were still literally being like, what is this music? You know what I mean? They didn't even know what the fuck it was.
Yeah.
It wasn't getting awards. It didn't have a category yet on an award show or any of that stuff.
When I heard it, it was streets, man. I was at a boys club camp, and a guy turned me on to, you know, like craft work, and they're pop locking, and, you know, I'm in 5th grade, and I'm like, what is this? And, you know, these Oakland kids are like had their fucking ear to the ground, man, you know? And that was ground zero of hip hop for me, man.
So you gotta create your own lane. You gotta create your own lane. Like I said, man, like the store is a good example. Like Tommy was an idiot, but the new guy Adam, he's a great dude, and he's been really nice to me, and he lets me park in the parking lot.
Yeah.
You know, he doesn't treat me like I'm fucking some goddamn thief in the night because I want to park in the... He's like, you're a comic. You can park in the lot. You tell me when you're coming. I got you.
Yeah.
And I might not do a ton of stand-up there, but I'm doing my own show there.
Yeah.
Joe DeRosa and you should do it. You want to do it?
Oh, absolutely. When is it?
February.
I'm in. What's the date?
I don't have it in front of me. Hold on a second.
We'll pump it right now on the show.
Yeah.
I'll do it. That'll be great.
Joe DeRosa and friends at the store. February.
Yeah.
Oh, there it is. The 9th.
9th. I'm in. What time? 8?
No, probably 8.
Cool. I'm in, man.
Yeah, so...
Let's talk a little bit about your special. Who's it coming out with?
Say again?
Who's the special coming out with?
Comedy Central.
Wow. Now, how does this happen?
It happens... Wait, let's plug that show properly, though.
Okay, so
February... What did I say it was?
February, I got it right here, 9th.
9th.
At the Belly Room.
At the Belly Room. I'm not sure what time, but it'll be Joe DeRosa and friends.
I would say it's probably 8 o'clock.
Probably.
Yeah.
So my point is that it's like I might not be a regular at the club, but I still perform there, and you create your own lanes, and you show your face in the way you can, and you do what works for you. Now I got the special coming out, which I'm excited about. And
Where'd you shoot it?
The Masonic Temple at the Hollywood Forever Cemetery.
Oh, wow. Al Magical did one there, too.
yeah.
Did they shoot them all there or something in a weekend? Or
No. We did them, I think, for different networks.
I got
It's just a cool room.
It's great,
Yeah, it's a great room.
First time I went there used to be like an alt room there, man, for a while. It was so great.
It's a great room.
Yeah.
Seats about 100 or 120 people or something.
It's beautiful,
It's nice
right?
and tight, yeah. So February 3rd it comes out.
That's my birthday.
Happy birthday.
Yeah, thank you, man.
You're welcome,
I'm so
man.
glad that's coming out on my birthday.
Yeah, that's awesome.
a Friday night.
Yeah, it is. It is.
And then it's 1 hour?
It's 1 hour. It's called You Let Me Down and Comedy Central. Please check it out.
That's so cool. Now, did you pick where you wanted to shoot it?
I did. I directed it too.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, so I was very involved in the whole process.
Wow.
Very, very involved in
And
the
did
whole
you
thing.
do 2 shows?
Yeah, 2.
2 shows. And then did you like both of them? Or I always like to ask guys.
They were both great. I mean, the first one was almost too good, where I was like, man, they're clapping a lot. This stuff's not that good.
Yeah. I love it, right? You're like, come on. It's going to look like we piped this in.
Yeah, so, but no, they were both great audiences. I was really grateful that everybody came out. And a lot of friends came out too, which was nice. My parents were here. It was great. It was great. It was a dream come true, man.
That's great. I'd like to do some shows with you, man. If you're out on the road, I'd go out there and have
I'd
some
like
fun.
to. I'd like to. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'll let you know, man.
That'd be great, man.
Absolutely. But you got to do this February 9th.
I'm on.
9th, right? I already forget the date.
No, I think it was the 9th.
Whatever we said earlier.
Dude, thanks for doing the show, man.
Thanks for having me, man.
So great to have you on.
Yeah.
And
appreciate it.
Let's pump that hip hop show you do. It's really fucking funny at the Meltdown. And let's tell them what it is. You go and you play old like Yo MTV rap videos and stuff, and you just riff on them, right?
Yeah, it's a celebration of hip hop and hip hop culture that all kind of stems from the old school, meaning for us, anywhere from the 80s up through the early 90s and up through the present and on. But our foundation starting point is always kind of that era.
Yeah.
And we branch out from there. And then, it's just a hip hop show. We do like Beavis and Butthead, some of the videos, if they're, that are funny. And we do games with the audience, and we freestyle battle each other, which is always funny because we're all terrible at it.
That's hilarious.
But it's a really fun show. It's Tone Bell, Al Jackson, and myself. And
give me a freestyle rap right now.
No. No, I only will do it there. And even then, it's just like, it's so nerve-wracking every time. Yeah.
Hilarious.
Yeah.
Instantly, you're like, no.
Yeah, no, dude. I hate doing that part. But the audience likes it, so we keep doing it.
I had a joke hip-hop band. We did like 5 gigs. We were called Suburbia Violence.
Uh-huh.
And it was just like guys that wore ski masks and dresses. And we were just gangster rap, but really horrible.
Right.
And we played real gigs, man. And people did not understand at all. As a matter of fact, we did the DNA Lounge when Rob Schneider owned it.
Uh-huh.
And we got paid big money,
Yeah.
and the guy fucking hated us. The guy, the manager, he's like, you'll never be back.
Wow, it's not his call. It's Schneider's call, right?
That was great.
Dude, thanks for having me, man.
Hell yeah, dude.
And the special, You Let Me Down, February 3rd. And the hip hop show is called Can I Kick It? It's at the Meltdown. So
And you got Twitter.
At Joe DeRosa Comedy on Twitter and Instagram.
All right, man. Thank you so much.
Thanks,
Don't forget,
bro.
subscribe and leave a review for this podcast. And go see Joe out there on the road. And thanks, everybody, for tuning in.